Hello everyone, my name is Curtis. Today I'm going to do a review for Sistas Season 9, Episode 18. Before I get started, I do want to let you all know that I'm trying a new quick condensed review format for some of the shows that I review, in which I highlight the most important parts of the scene, opposed to nearly repeating every line of dialogue like I normally do. In the event that there is a scene or there are scenes within the episode that I feel like are a little more detailed, a little more involved, I will talk about those in detail, or what I'll do is create a separate video for those scenes in particular, so that way we can talk about them in full. And now that we got that out of the way, let's get started with the review. The episode begins with Aaron getting down on one knee and proposing to Karen. She looks down on him, she's like, you know what, are you sure you want to do this? He's like, of course I want to do this. So she's like, you know what, yes, I'll marry you. He gets up, the two of them embrace, he puts a ring on her finger. She's like, wow, it fits perfectly, it's beautiful. And then she's like, wait a minute, who helped you pick out this ring? He was like, nobody helped me pick out the ring. She was like, Aaron. He was like, okay, fine. So I went to your mom's house to get her blessing to ask you to marry me. And then it just so happened that we went to the ring store. And it just so happened that she helped me pick it out. But ultimately, I was the one who made the final decision. Karen laughs and she's like, you know what? I love it. And then he says, you know, when it comes to the ring, it's almost as beautiful as she is. And then he says that he cannot imagine his life without her. And then they both say that they love each other. And I was just like, oh, I was really happy for them. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who feel like this Karen and Aaron situation in regards to them falling in love so heavy seems to be a bit rushed. But to me, I feel like we need to go back to the beginning of the season, see everything that Karen has been through. You know, she lost a baby. She went through postpartum depression, and who was with her pretty much the entire time? It was Aaron, so you can see why she decided to fall in love with him, decided to say yes to the marriage proposal, and also why she decided that she wanted to go to Seattle with him. In the next scene, we see Sabrina. She's having a conversation with Damani, who tells her that he wants her to get rid of the embryos because he's going to get married, and also he does not want to have kids out there that he is not going to take care of. She tells her that she is not trying to do that. The two of them already came to an agreement. Like, why would she even do that? And he's just like, look, when it comes to my fiance, she is not with it. If she finds out that you did not discard those embryos, she is not going to marry me. And Sabrina's like, okay, well, I guess you're going to be single. Bye. We then go to the law office and we see Andy, we see Fatima. Fatima asks Andy how was her night. She says that it was a 4 out of 10 because she had to sleep on the couch because her mom is there. And so then Andy asks Fatima how was her night. And she says, well, it was quite interesting because I actually saw Gary. He came up to the office, he was looking for Hayden. And then she tells her that Gary actually put $100,000 in Zach's account and that he's pretty much on an apology tour. Andy tells Fatima that she is aware that Gary is on this apology tour because she actually saw him. So Fatima's like, well, if you saw him, why didn't you tell me that he was back in town? So she was just like, you know, you and I, we were in a weird space. I didn't really know how to bring it up. You know, I do apologize, you know, for not telling you, but we were in a weird space. And Fatima, of course, she understands. And so while the two of them are talking, Hayden actually walks over and Andy tells him that he smells like roach repellent. And I say, God damn, that's fucked up. Hayden counters this by saying that Andy's mom approached him and told him that she loves the smell of his cologne, and then he goes on to say that if she keeps giving him compliments, she might get fucked. After this, we see Sabrina and Maurice inside of Sabrina's office at the bank. She tells Maurice that she had a rough night. Maurice asks her if this has anything to do with Rock. She says no, this has everything to do with Damani. And so she goes into detail and says that Damani reached out to her to let her know that he got engaged and that he wants her to get rid of the embryos. And then in regards to this agreement, because remember earlier she says that the two of them agreed that they would have, you know, the embryos. She says that the agreement was just a verbal. So they did not write down anything. It was just a verbal agreement. And I was just like, really, Sabrina? And then even when it comes to Maurice, he was like, Sabrina, you are friends with Andy, who is a lawyer. Why didn't you have her draft up something? And I was thinking the same thing, like, Sabrina, what are you doing? Sabrina starts to cry, then she tells Maurice that she actually had to go into her savings to even do this process, and she actually paid $20,000. And I was like, damn, she's in a tough spot. And then Paige comes in, she's like, hey, you know, I overheard the conversation. She was like, even if you wanted to get rid of the embryos, legally you can't in the state of Georgia. After this, we see Danny. She's at the airport. She helps out a customer, and then next thing you know, we see Officer Green. And y'all, I'm just ready for this Officer Green storyline to just be over with. I mean, I'm happy for the actor. I'm glad he's getting a lot of screen time, getting a lot of money. But this whole thing with him going from woman to woman, trying to get them to go on a date, I'm over it. Danny looks at Officer Green. She's just like, you can't stay away from me, huh? He was like, no, I can't. Then he says, there was actually a mishap that happened at Terminal E. So she's like, well, what happened? He was like, well, a lot of people are getting fired. They're not leaving easily. So I had to come in just to make sure everything was taken care of. And then she was like, well, did you hear them mention my name? He was like, well, I can't really go into detail, but what I will say is this. I will keep my options open in regards to employment and also to the people that you date. And so she says, you know what happened last night, can that happen again? I was like, well, what happened last night? He was like, well, we didn't do anything. She was like, well, we were texting until 3 a.m. I said, you were texting until 3 a.m.? That's borderline cheating, Danny. He asked her if she's ready for round two. I said they're getting ready to fuck. She was like, listen to me. The only reason why we were able to text until 3 a.m. is because I kicked my man out. And so he was like, oh, you kicked him out, so that means I could come over, right? And she was like, did you not hear what I just said? My man, I'm in a relationship. Like, we can't do anything. Like, I do not cheat. He was like, listen to me. I don't give a fuck about your man. And I was just like, okay, Officer Green, don't get fucked up. There was a quick scene after this between Andy and her mom. And what I took away from this scene was, one, she wants Andy to be married. She wants Andy to have kids. And she wants Andy to stop giving up her pussy for free. She actually said that in the episode. Go back and watch it. And then also she says that her sister is taking her to a ghetto-ass church. I thought that was funny. And I think it is very important to note that when it comes to Officer Green, he actually contacts Andy, tries to convince her to go on a date, but Andy is not feeling him. She was like, boy, bye. In the next scene, we meet Terica. She is a WNBA player. She's going to the law office to meet with Fatima and Hayden. So she does run into Fatima first. Fatima tells her that she loves her, that she's a big fan. Terica tells her that she is so glad that she reached out to her because she actually just recently fired her lawyers. And so Fatima says, I'm not surprised by that because basically they played her. So Terica says that, I probably should have went with a black woman in the first place. And she says, well, you know what? It's a good thing you came over to me because I am going to help you out, make sure everything is good. And then she also says, when it comes to my partner, he is a person of color as well, and he does value women in the league. And speaking of Hayden, he does walk up, he introduces himself, and he tells Terica that he's working on a name for him and Fatima, and he says that he thinks that Haytima will be good. And I was like, that's actually pretty good. Terica looks at Hayden, she's like, Hayden, you're really cute. You're short, but you're really cute. And so Hayden's just like, okay, that's a diss, but it's also a compliment. So Fatima can tell that's getting ready to get a little awkward. So she's like, do you need some water or something? And she's like, no, actually, I cannot stay long. So Hayden's like, okay, well, that's fine. So come into my office so we can talk and we can get everything taken care of. And so Hayden does walk away. Fatima starts walking, but Terica actually is like, hey, let me talk to you real quick. She's like, what's up? She was like, when it comes to Hayden, is he single? She was like, I think he's actually gay. She was like, fuck. I said, Fatima, you were crazy. After this, we see Zach and Mr. Keys at a restaurant, and so Mr. Keys does come in and he calls him son. And so I know that the theory that's going around is that Mr. Keys is Zach's father, but Zach said that the last time that he saw his father, he was 5 years old, right? And so I'm just thinking back, like when I was 5, I can really tell like who my father was. Like I knew what he looked like. And so I feel like when it comes to Mr. Keys, that was his father, he would have recognized him. So I don't think that theory is true. During this scene, Zach and Mr. Keys have a conversation about Zach's father, and Mr. Keys tells Zach that his father's nickname used to be Gold because he used to have a lot of gold jewelry. So Zach was like, oh, okay, so that means that he had a lot of money? He was like, no, he didn't have a lot of money. He was actually broke. He used to just steal jewelry from rich people because he felt like they were so rich, they had so much money, they wouldn't even realize that he stole some of their jewelry. He goes on to say that he feels like Zach and his father are pretty similar. He feels like, his father was a go-getter. His father was a hustler. His father was someone that made things happen. And Zach was like, he's also a deadbeat too. And so Mr. Keys was like, yeah, he was a little complicated. He made poor decisions. And Zach was like, what, let's just get to the point. Where's my father at right now? We then quickly flash over to the law office and we see Fatima and Hayden having a conversation about Terica. So Terica has decided to sign with them, so that is great. But Fatima says, when it comes to Terica and also future clients, she's going to need him to run point. He was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, I need to focus on the work that Andy is giving me. And so he's like, Andy, you make more money working with me. Like, why are you worried about Andy? She was like, well, because the only reason why I'm in his office is because of Andy. I work for Andy. Like, we do this side thing with you, of course, but I work with Andy. And so Hayden gets back on this jealous thing. So I stated in a video before that when it comes to Andy, I never felt like she was jealous of Fatima for working with other clients. Like, that wasn't a big deal. It was stemming from something else. And we found out in the previous episode that it was because of her relationship with Karen. It had nothing to do with the clients. But Hayden is determined to say that she is jealous of Fatima because of working with the clients. But Fatima's like, listen to me. Andy is not jealous. Andy just wants me to do the work that has been assigned to me. That is it. So Hayden's like, I can have a conversation with Andy to get this straightened out. So Fatima's like, actually, no, that's not a good thing. We just got back in a better place. But don't worry, as time goes on, I will figure out a way to get everything balanced out. I promise. We then go back to the restaurant and we see that Mr. Keys and Zach are still having a conversation. Mr. Keys tells Zach that his father left Atlanta 10 years ago, then he moved to Canada and he got married. So Zach is just like, wow, so this man moved out of the country, got married, and didn't even think to reach out to me? Mr. Keys tells him that he actually encouraged him to reach out to him to try to have a relationship. He said he did not want to, and it actually caused him to fall out. So Zach was just like, well, why does he not want to have a conversation with me? And so Mr. Keys was like, well, it could be a situation where he feels some type of guilt, some type of shame. And it also could be a situation where he just doesn't want to have a relationship with you. And I was like, damn, I know that stung. I know that hurt. After this, we go back to the law office. We see Fatima. She's going over some paperwork. And then next thing you know, Karen walks in. And Karen looks great. She looks wonderful. Fatima tells her that it looks like she has some type of glow about her. And she's like, well, Aaron did propose. And so, of course, Fatima congratulates her. And she compliments her on the ring. And Karen tells her that when it comes to her and Aaron, not only are they engaged, but they're getting ready to move. Fatima's like, oh, okay, where are you moving to? She says Seattle. She was like, Seattle? Why? She was like, well, when it comes to Aaron, he actually had a job offer and he actually starts training next week. So we're going to head out as soon as possible. And she was like, well, how do you feel about that? Like, do you really want to move? And she was like, yeah, you know what? I'm ready for a new chapter. And Fatima's like, you know what? I'm really happy for you. And then Karen was just like, look at us. Who would have ever thought that you and I would be supporting each other? I was like, it is kind of weird. I cannot lie. In the next scene, we see Dani. She's in her therapy session. The therapist tells her that she has about 30 minutes to get everything out. So she's like, okay, you know what? Let me just get to the point. She says, when it comes to her job, she's seeing people get fired every single day. She feels like she is next. She says, when it comes to Tony, this man is a bum on her couch. He is essentially taken over. And so that's stressing her out. She says that she met a new guy and he is making her feel away. And so that's causing her to be stressed out because she doesn't feel like she should be feeling anyway, knowing that she's in a relationship. She then says, when it comes to her friend Andy, she told her that she feels like she's jealous of her. She doesn't understand why. And then she ends by saying that when it comes to her hair is starting to thin. And so she just needs some type of guidance. And so that's why she's there. The therapist was just like, oh, wow, that is a lot to unpack here, Dani. She was like, oh, that's nothing. That was just a pregame. You told me I only have 30 minutes, so I just wanted to give you a quick synopsis. So the therapist was like, well, based off of everything that you're telling me, it just sounds like you have high stress levels. And, when you have high stress levels, that can cause hair loss. It can cause hot flashes because Dani is over there, like, fanning herself. She is sweating. And I believe the therapist said it was only like 68 degrees in the office. So Dani sweating like this is definitely alarming. And she says also when it comes to high stress levels, it can cause you to be a little dry down there. So remember, Tony was complaining that she was a little dry. He bought some lube, so it may be related to stress. But she says, what I want you to do is to reach out to your primary physician so that way you can get an official diagnosis. We go back to the law office and we see Andy. She's walking through and she can hear Fatima and Karen, laughing and joking. So she walks in, she's like, what's going on? So Karen was like, well, they get engaged. So Andy does congratulate her. And then she's like, well, did you tell the other ladies? She was like, no, I've only told you and Fatima. And so I thought that Andy was going to feel away that she told Fatima before she told her, but she didn't. So I was like, okay, Andy, good job. Fatima ends up leaving the room, and so Andy decides to pivot, and she asks Karen if she could reach out to the woman in her support group. And the reason why she wants Karen to reach out to the woman in her support group is because she wants them to come up to the office so that way that they can have a conversation with Benson, so hopefully he can take the situation seriously. So Karen was like, I could reach out to them, but when do you want them to come out? She was like, now, today. And she was like, oh, you want them to come up today? She was like, yeah, because we need to convince Benson. So she was like, I can reach out to them, but I cannot guarantee anything. This is such short notice. Andy was like, please just do what you can. Karen reaches out to the leader of the support group, and surprise, surprise, she says not only can she come, but she can get the other ladies to come. So Andy's just like, perfect. So then Karen's like, well, since you decided to pivot, let me pivot. So what's going on with you and Dani? She says, well, Dani's upset with me because I told a lie. And she's like, well, what lie did you tell? She was like, well, when it comes to me and Dr. Vaughn, we have been dating. So Karen's like, oh, okay, well, I don't really feel like that's a big deal. And Dani was just like, thank you. And then she says that she feels like Dani is jealous of her because she is able to date around while she is stuck in a relationship with Tony because she's clearly unhappy. And so Karen does flash her ring. She was like, well, being in a relationship is not that bad. And I was like, you know what? That was a good counter. And then Annie says, the situation that you and Aaron have, completely different from the situation that Danny and Tony have. She's clearly not happy with Tony. You were clearly happy with him. So big difference. And so Karen was like, well, you know what? I want you two to work this out. And in fact, I'm actually going to have an event. And I want you to come. I want Danny to come. I want everybody to come. It's pretty much going to be my going away party. And Annie was like, you know what? I'll be there. Later that day, we see that the ladies have arrived at the law office, and so Andy does greet them and has a conversation with them, and she says that she has plans to sue Dr. Cruz. And then one of the ladies asked a question that I would ask as well. She was like, is this free? Because, we can't afford a lawyer like you, so we need to know if this is free from the beginning. She says, yes, this is free. I want to help my friend Karen, but also help women who went through similar situations. So they're just like, oh my God, this is great, this is wonderful. But as they are talking, we see Dr. Cruz. He actually walks into the law office. He walks up to the receptionist and says that he is there to see Hayden. And so one of the ladies from the support group sees him first, and she's just like, oh my God. So Annie turns around like, what's going on? And then Karen, she sees him, and she's just like, and I was just like, oh no, this is about to put Karen back in the depression. This is not going to be good, y'all. And that was the end of the episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. If you could, please let me know how you all felt about this new format. I know in the beginning I started out with the quick and condensed, then I kind of went like super detailed, then I brought it back, so it was kind of all over the place. I do apologize. I've been doing it a certain way for so long, trying to switch it up, so it's going to take a while, but let me know how you all felt. But also, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, great weekend. Take care. Bye.